my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. You know the drill. I'll tell you who's coming up on the show here shortly. I just want to check. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. All right, Mad Jack, you snuck in there early. I'm still not sure how you guys do that. How you can make a comment before I actually even go live. Cliff, good morning. How are you? Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining me on this edition of Behind the Mic here from the Outdoor Magazine radio studio as I fuel myself with coffee. Tastes pretty good, too. Paul, good morning, buddy. How are you? Captain Jim, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining me. Uncle Johnny, are you guys on the road yet? Have a safe trip. Craig Plowman, my good friend and my very generous buddy. How are you? How are things in your world, Craig? Are you down here working today or are you up north in your piece of heaven? And when does your angler quest go in the water, Craig? That's the big question, right? When are you splashing the boat? Rico, nice to have you along with us, Rico. I did post your pictures. Pretty impressive. Thank you for that. Keep up the good work, Mr. Urban Angler. Bruce, good morning. How are you? Always a pleasure. As I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio getting ready to record this week's show, we continue to work our way towards spring. It is officially spring, what, tomorrow or Friday? Tomorrow or Friday, it is officially spring. Rico, my pleasure. Going to have a break all week. Excellent, Paul. Good morning, Joel. How are you? Some things coming up. Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant, the Wednesday after Easter, which will be April 23rd. Call for reservations 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892. At work, probably put the boat in next month. Bought a live scope, eager to try it out. Now, Craig, are you going to use that live scope for trolling at all, or is it strictly a jigging or casting or something presentation? Will you use it for trolling? I'm very interested in that technology, but I haven't quite, well, I've never used it myself. The only time I've seen it in use was ice fishing, so I don't have really any experience with it at all. But I'm not quite sure how you would use it for trolling unless you put it at the bow of the boat and face it forward. Or if you're salmon fishing, I could see putting it at the back of the boat and looking at your spread. But it'll be interesting. That'll be very cool. When you come down and fish with me, you're going to be like, oh man, this guy's low tech. I do not have any word on my Angler Quest yet. That's in the hands of Mr. Angler Quest, Brad Dupuis. Rachel, good morning. How are you? Always a pleasure. Do you see our mutual friend Scott Gatz is out there just knocking them down left and right? 3 nights in a row now he's taking a coyote. I actually haven't posted that picture yet, but I will. 3 nights in a row off his property. Also, the big news since last week. If you were listening to the show, you know that I was talking with some folks in the UP who found a couple of cougar cubs. And I was all set to get the one guy on the show, and then he backed out because he was getting some heat from the DNR. So I mentioned it last week. I said, I suspect by the time you hear the show last week, there would be official word on it. So I was in the studio Wednesday, and I think Thursday, possibly Friday, the DNR sent out a news release that, yes, those are cougar cubs. I said, are they called cubs or are they kittens or kits? Either one. You can call them cubs or kittens. Doesn't matter. And here's the interesting part, and I know this because I've already recorded the segments for this week's show, talking with Brian Roll, the biologist who oversees that whole thing. He says, until we get a trail camera picture of the female with those cubs, we do not have proof that it's a breeding population. He said, at this point, all we have is proof that there are 2 cubs. Until we get a trail camera picture of those cubs with the mother, they are not he said, you can make the inference and put two and two together, but he said from a scientific perspective and a fact perspective, we can't make that statement until we see the female with the cubs. Excellent, Rachel. Corey, good morning. How are you? Hey, Roger, how have you been? Get a lot of good perch out of the cuts. Excellent. Bernie, good morning. Corey, doing great. How are you? Tim checking in from South Florida. Excellent, Tim. Have fun. Good morning, Steve. No, the guy who took the pics did not have pictures of the mother as well. Now, there are trail camera pictures of a cat in that area, but at this point, as of yesterday at 1:30, nobody was known to have had pictures of the female with the cubs. I think that's just a matter of time, though, right? As many trail cameras as are out these days, it's pretty hard for something to sneak through our Michigan outdoors anywhere, including the UP, because everybody's got trail camera pictures out. That's why that one wolf that showed up last year in down by Battle Creek or somewhere, I'm still not buying into the fact that that was a wolf that came down from the UP. There would have been evidence of it along the way, and there just wasn't. Randy, if I didn't say good morning, Randy. How are you? Hello, George. How are things over at Savage Dog? Corey's getting ready for the Michigan Walleye Tour season. If that's the case, Paul, I have not seen him, but that would be great. Anglers, don't forget to get your new fishing license. Thank you, Jim, for the reminder. And don't bitch about the price. Not you, Jim, but anybody in general. Don't bitch about the price. Don't bitch about the price of the licenses to me. I'm not buying into it. It's a great deal. It's an absolute great deal. My wife Denise made some homemade cinnamon rolls out of homemade bread. I brought some in for the crew, and Art just snuck in the door. He didn't sneak in the door. He came in the door to grab one, and he's going to zap that. Let me know how you like it, Art. I'll pass it along to my wife. They're excellent, by the way. Brian, good morning. How are you? Going back to the cost of licenses, we will probably see a license increase here in the relatively near future. It won't be for this year, obviously, for the fishing license at least. I got some loose skin in my. Oh, you know what I could use? I could use not this Rapid River knife, which is my EDC, my everyday carry. This is my fancy one, my Youper, made out of mammoth ivory. I could use this one. This is my newest addition to the lineup. This is my Youper Junior. Okay? It's very similar, just different size. There we go, a little smaller. Right? I don't know what you mean, Brian. No, you didn't, Johnny. You got passed up with round one because she wants to make them perfect before she hands them off to you guys. Just got back from Kansas. Excellent. Robert, good morning from the Eastern UP. I think his sense of smell did lead him in here. Brian, have you seen that picture, Brian? If so, please forward to me, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Dave, good morning. Brad, a little late, doesn't matter. Gene, good morning. Tim, good morning. Going back to this one, I think you must be talking about a picture of a cat that looks like she's been nursing. I have not seen it. Brian, I have not seen it. If there is that picture going around and it is from Michigan, please let me know. Forward it to us. Send me the link. The email is Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Ross Elliott, one of the nicest, most generous, most sincere people you'll ever meet. Good morning, my friend. How are you? Patrick, good morning. William, good morning. Mountain Lion, okay. Okay. I'd love to see it, Brian. Love to see it. But again, the DNR, they can say, okay, you can put two and two together, and here's another two, but they're until they see a picture with that cat with the cubs, they are not willing to make the official announcement that there's a breeding population. Jordan, good morning. How are you, buddy? How are things in the U? Let me just check my email. Maybe somebody sent that to me already. No. That email is the best way to get in touch with me, by the way. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Okay, I told you spring is. John, when's spring? Tomorrow or Friday? What do you mean you don't know? You're the keeper of all knowledge.
Thursday, March 20th.
Thursday. So tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first day of spring. Thank you, John. As I walked out the door this morning, I can tell you, Mother Nature is like, it was 3 years ago in front of my car. About five. I got you. Gotcha. Okay. Wasn't aware of that one, Brian. Andrew, how are things in Linwood? Tim says, I'm not as excited as the DNR seems to be. I don't think the DNR is excited. I think that they had to react to it. They had to react to it. Finally, spring and Gladwin, red-winged blackbirds and killdeers are back. No picks driving. Got it. Kevin, Coyote Killing King Rod, how are you? I hear you, Paul. I hear you. And even Brian, when I talk with him in that thing, he says, look, yes, you can make the assumption that that's the case. He said, but we really need that picture of the female with the cubs. Crappie bluegill spawning today in Florida. I was going to say, wow, have a great day in Michigan. We will do that. We will do that. Art says, Denise is my hero. So we've got two big thumbs up for Denise's cinnamon rolls. Cattle farmer knows. I don't doubt that, Brian. And I'm not doubting you, Brian, either. When I walked outside this morning, it hit me. It was a little warmer, but the birds singing is what really got my attention. The robins were chirping. They were sounding off. Had I given it another hour or so, the red-winged blackbirds would have been singing. So that's the first time I have heard that this year, and it really got my attention. It's like, oh, man, it is indeed springtime. Art Mad Jack says, good morning. Okay, what else? Okay, so turkey season's coming up now in just about a month. I mean, it's coming up fast. Probably a little too early to do any, thank you, Brian, to do any real serious scouting. But you can get a sense of whether there are birds in your area or not, right? Corey says, Mike, can you DoorDash me some of those cinnamon rolls? Yeah. Well, I've got two 5-star reviews so far, so they're going for $10 a piece. Turkey season, pasture is turning green. That's your sure sign of spring. Yeah, Tim. Turkey season, springtime trolling season, at least on Saginaw Bay, is in full swing now. My son James was out Monday. He was fishing with Mike Smith of Offshore Account and a couple of Offshore A Count and a couple of other birds are still flocked up. Jim says, "See, I haven't seen those big flocks, Jim, but that's why I'm saying you can't really pattern them yet. All you can do is get a feel for whether there are birds in your hunting area." Robert says the same thing. They're still flocked up in the EUP, 30 to 40 bird flocks. I think where we're going to hunt this year, my grandson Trent wants to try his hand at turkey hunting. And I mean, he's not a little kid. He's like 23 years old. He just never turkey hunted before. I said, I'll take you out and, teach you how to turkey hunt. So I think we're going to do that. Scott Gatz, let's see what he's got for me. Oh my gosh, Scott. Scott, the guy who's killed 3 coyotes in 3 days across the road from his house. Scott, so the rest of my story, Scott, is I want to take my older grandson, Trent, out turkey hunting for the first time this spring and give him a feel for turkey hunting. The Christmas tree farm where I used to hunt and still could doesn't have the number of birds on it that it used to. So I was thinking about going out to our lease property in the southwest corner of Midland County. And I still might do that, but Scott, you know where I'm going with this. After you get your bird, if you wouldn't mind me bringing my grandson in there, I would probably appreciate that. Okay, what else? Trolling season. James is getting fish. Got a bunch of fish. They got a bunch of big fish. 8-pound fish on Saginaw Bay. It was phenomenal. I just saw pictures. I didn't go. I didn't go. Trolling season. Lamprey. Okay, speaking of trolling and lamprey, you've heard the talk of the federal budget cuts where they want to get rid of 12, I think the number is 12 federal employees assigned to the Sea Lamprey program, which would be devastating. Let me go back to this. Scott says he noticed the birds this morning as well. A great way to start the morning it was. Jim, good morning. Kevin, 3 weeks out of open heart surgery, and I'm back. Excellent, Kevin. You can't keep a good man down, can you? Good for you. Good for you. Did he have to dodge ice floes? I don't think so, Jim, but I did see a picture of, and I think it was Mark Pananzak or somebody was out there, and they were dodging ice flows. Ticks, excellent. Not excellent, but Greg says ticks are out already too now. I guess not already, but out. So I checked in with the feds on those positions, and they're very tight-lipped about it right now. They will not talk about it right now. And the PR person that I talked to said, "Look, why don't you get the word out about this to try to put some public pressure on the system to keep those 12 people in the Sea Lamprey program?" And they said, right now it's too precarious. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to piss anybody off. We're just going to keep quiet about it. So it's not that I have ignored that topic. I can't get anybody to talk about it. Joe, good morning, Pastor. How are you? Always a pleasure, my friend, to have you along with us. You getting ready for turkey season? Josh, good morning. How are you, buddy? Mike, I see you guys are signed up for the golf outing Friday, July 25th at the West Branch Country Club, the second annual Mikey Erie Outdoors Charity Golf Outing. Go to mucc.org/golf to sign up. John, a lot of posts. Nice fish. Yes. Jordan says he's hoping for a decent smelt run this year. Last year wasn't so good. Hello, Charlie.
Good morning to you.
John tried the cinnamon rolls. Hey, Kevin. Art tried the cinnamon rolls. They both said they're very good.
I have no doubt.
Okay.
Do so in a moment.
Kevin says, I will see you in April because he's going to be, Kevin Hannis is the superintendent of the West Branch Country Club. He's going to be at our Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant on the 23rd. Call 989-343-0892 for reservations. And then the golf outing, you go to mucc.org/golf to sign up for that. Registration is now open. I have a very aggressive goal this year for what I'm hoping we can clear on this event. And I think we can do it. I'm not going to give you that number just yet, but it's pretty aggressive. And I think we can do it. Corey says, got to meet Steve from MUCC. Steve Wyndham he's a great guy. You met him at the Grand Rapids show. I was hoping to get down to the Grand Rapids show, but I just didn't make it. Eric, good morning. How are you? Paul, I got my club's board to approve a silver sponsorship. Now gave present to the membership. Now gave to present. Sponsorship now. Gave to present. Is that a silver sponsorship for the golf outing, Paul? Thank you. Paul Phillips, ladies and gentlemen, one of the world's best, and I mean this sincerely, one of the world's best extreme long-range shooters. One of the best in the world right here on my live stream this morning. Paulie, good morning, buddy. How are you? Tim says, I'll keep hearing his cinnamon roll. That's what I told Nisi. I call her Denise. I call her Nisi. It's like, I can't keep the weight off if you're making cinnamon rolls. I don't doubt that he does. Yeah, Scott Hand, too late to the. Did you touch on the proposed license fee increase? Scott, I touched on it very briefly, but which one are we looking at? Are we looking at the one that's in the legislature, which is probably going to get worked over pretty good before it gets passed? I did say that we're going to get some kind of a fee increase. You can count on that. How big? Nobody knows yet, right? The numbers that are being bounced around Lansing right now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be a compromise somewhere. Brian, what about saving a lake? Don't know if I should talk about saving a lake. What lake is that, Brian? Randy says, "Good morning, Cap. Won't be long, and those tunes will hit the water." Randy, I'm waiting for that. Excellent, Ross. Thank you, Randy. I'm waiting for that. But I'm waiting for a new boat to get built. And to be honest with you, I don't want to. I don't want to bug Mr. AnglerQuest Brad Dupuy right now because he's busy with his first real selling season of the new AnglerQuest lineup, QUEST. So I don't want to get in the way of that. I'll plant a little bug in his ear here to remind him that we need to work on that one too. But it's not his main priority. 1 minute, not his main priority, and I get it. I get it completely. Thank you, Ross. I will remind Steve of that. Going fishing in Savannah. Excellent. Suckerfest, Roger, coming up in Omer. Have to. Suckers. Coyote season debate. Do I have any thoughts on it? Yeah, absolutely. It was a terrible, terrible decision. Trout Lake Meredith. Good morning, John. How are you? It was a terrible decision.
30 seconds.
It was politically motivated. It's the decision that got me not trusting our NRC. We need to reinstate the year-round season. Those are my thoughts on it.
15.
Charlie, rude. Okay, where'd my clock go? No, but I may have to rely on your clock, Charlie, because I don't know where my clock went. Huh?
Wanna go?
Yeah, go.
2, 1, blast off.
Crap. I had a clock up here. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, I just had it up here earlier. I don't know where it went, Charlie. I'm winging it, buddy. Give me a 5, will you? 5 minute. Charlie,
I can.
I should have started one on my.
If I'm-
We'll be fine. I'll be fine. All right, my friends. I'll get my clock working during the next break. Have a great day. I'll be back at 7 o'clock tonight. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. More than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, and as always, so glad to have you along with us as we continue this celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, the history and tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping. And we talk about some wildlife issues. We talk about some conservation issues. We wrap up each week's show with some wild game cooking. It's kind of the full picture, the full package, because I think that this history and heritage and tradition is a big deal. I think it's important. I think it's important to our state in general, our state as a whole. There are so many companies here in Michigan that are outdoor related. A lot of people make their living based on outdoor recreation. Plus, we need hunters and anglers and trappers to manage our wildlife populations. You know, it's not like the old days where there was no man here and Mother Nature just kind of figured out her own balance. Well, man is a part of the equation these days, and we need to do our part in managing these populations. But beyond this, beyond the big picture of why I'm so passionate about this, I look at my personal history, my family tradition, the Avery family tradition. I think we're on 5 generations right now that I personally know who are outdoor enthusiasts, bordering on outdoor addicts. My grandpa, he hunted and he fished. He taught my dad, who hunted and fished and trapped, who taught me, I hunt and fish, who taught my son James, he hunts and fish. James taught the grandkids. They hunt and fish. And when we get together or when we're texting back and forth, that's what we talk about. We don't normally talk about politics. It sneaks in once in a while. We try not to, but it's not politics. It's not the weather, other than how it affects our hunting and fishing passions. But it's the outdoors. And for the first time in my life, I can see a future where that outdoor lifestyle is in jeopardy. In part because of the anti-hunters. They are a vile, evil, lying, well-funded group that want to take away our way of life. But that's not the part that really bothers me, because the hardcore, in-your-face anti-hunters, you can see them. They're right there in front of you. You know where they're coming from. That's the enemy. Okay, I can see him. He's the enemy, he or she. Two other things that bother me is the infighting in the outdoor community. That one bothers me a lot, because that's the one that's going to get us. If we keep fighting among ourselves, it's going to create an opening for the anti-hunting groups. But the other of this triad here, this trinity that I think about, is the population of people in the southern part of the state. And I'm not saying everybody, because there are a lot of hardcore outdoors men and women in the southern tier of the Lower Peninsula. But that's where the population is. And because that's where the population is, they can control the direction of how the rest of the state goes. And if those folks in the southern part of the state who are ignorant, and I don't mean that in a negative way, they're ignorant to the outdoor lifestyle because they didn't grow up that way and they don't have any experience, if they decide they're going to start voting against us, we're in trouble. So that's the long story about why I do this show and why I'm so passionate to do whatever I can in my little way to promote and preserve this outdoor lifestyle. As I was walking out the door this morning, speaking of the outdoor lifestyle, I walked out the door this morning and it hit me that, okay, as you're hearing this show, now it is officially springtime, but it really hit me as I was walking out the door when I heard the robins chirping. The sun was just starting to come up. I thought, okay, boom, this feels like an early springtime morning. This feels like, in fact, what it felt like to me was heading out to go turkey hunting. Now, turkey season's coming up in, about a month now? Most of the birds, I think, across the state are still flocked up in the big groups, so it's really kind of hard to go out turkey scouting. But what I do like to do is figure out the area where I'm going to be hunting, and I have about 3 options this spring, and just drive around and see where I'm seeing those big flocks. If I don't see big flocks, it makes me a little nervous. If I see big flocks anywhere in the section, it's like, okay, they're going to break up here in a couple of weeks. They're going to disperse, and then they can become, fair game, fair targets to me. But I love turkey hunting. I'm excited about turkey hunting. My grandson Trent, he's not a little kid. He's 23 years old, but he's never turkey hunted. He's a hardcore deer hunter, but he's never turkey hunted. I think we're going to change that this spring. At least that is the plan for now. So turkey season's coming up. Early trolling season is in full swing, at least across the southern part of the state. Speaking of my son James, who's a hardcore hunter and angler, he was out on Saginaw Bay a couple of days ago fishing with Mike Smith of Offshore Account and a couple of other buddies. And man, they got some nice fish. When he sent me the picture, I said, "Are you on Erie, Lake Erie?" Because it looked like because the number of fish and the size of the fish, I thought they must be on Lake Erie. No, they were on Saginaw Bay. Boat launches are in all across the bay. Time to get out there. Let's hope, though, that, and walleye are not really directly affected by sea lamprey, but our freshwater, our Great Lakes fishery in general is. You've heard the news about sea lampreys and the fact that there are going to be some 12 positions cut in that program. I've been trying to get some reaction from the feds, the Fish and Wildlife Service, on this, and they won't talk about it. They're so, I don't want to say hinky, but they say things are so precarious right now, they just don't want to say too much of anything. So it's not that it's not on my radar screen, but I'm having a hard time getting anybody to talk about it. I was able to get somebody to talk about those cougar cubs in the UP. If you were with me last week, you heard me say that I had been talking with some folks in the UP who had found those cougar cubs, and they were reluctant to go on the show with me here because they were getting some what they termed as pressure from the DNR. I'm not sure exactly what that meant, but they were uncomfortable going public with that knowledge, even though everybody knew about it. It was all over Facebook. It was all over social media. And I made the prediction last week. I said, I think these people are legit. I think these reports and the pictures I've seen are real. And I made the prediction that by the time you heard the radio show last weekend, the DNR would come out and say, yes, those were cougar cubs. And again, I didn't know if it was cubs or kittens or whatever, but it's both. It can be a cougar cub or a cougar kitten. Anyway, 2 of them were found. So I talked with the DNR biologist who went out and did the investigation. He said, absolutely, those are indeed cougar cubs. More on that after the break as I have a conversation with Brian Roll, who is a DNR wildlife biologist and the guy who was assigned to the case. What else? Our Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant is coming up April 23rd. Call 989-343-0892 for reservations, 989-343-0892. If you have to leave a message, tell them your name, your phone number, and how many in your party, 989-343-0892. Also on your calendar should be the 2nd annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing. Registration is now open. Go to mucc.org/golf, mucc.org/golf. We do have golfers already signing up, and I am pretty confident that we will have a full field for this year's event. And I've got a pretty aggressive goal for how much I think we can clear on this year's event, but I think we can do it, mucc.org/golf. Okay, coming up on this week's show, as I said after the break, Brian Roll talks about the investigation of those cougar cubs, what that means. Does it mean we now have a breeding population, so we have to have a management plan? Well, Brian will talk about that and more. And then Nick Buja of the Michigan Wildlife Council. When I was talking earlier about the folks in the southern part of the state who will control the vote on our outdoor issues, that's what the Michigan Wildlife Council is centered on, reaching those people in the southern part of the state. In our second hour, Gina Cannell of Jay's Sporting Goods will talk about turkey guns, guns in general, the availability of and ammo, and all such things. Then Sergeant Mike Mashar answers this week's Ask Avery question. And in hour number 3, we're going to talk more about walleye trolling on Saginaw Bay with Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters and the Linwood Beach Marina. And, of course, we'll wrap it all up with Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Miner. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. If you want to reach me, questions, comments, concerns, criticism, pictures, that's how to get them to me. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I think it's going to be a good show this week. Of course, I think they're all going to be a good show this week, right? I think it's going to be a good show. I'm so glad you're with us. I hope you can stick around for the next 3 hours. All right, my friends, I got to figure out how to get my timer back. You folks have a good day. I will be back tonight at 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live, where we will give away another Michigan brand ham for Lent, ham for the holidays, and also a gift card to the Lumberjack Restaurant. All right, my friends, have a good day.